If you've ended up in a situation where you really don't like your life, you're not happy with it, then all along the way, there were choices that were self-betrayal. Sleep is critical for health and wellness. In terms of the length, this is very challenging in modern society, but the amount of sleep you need is waking up without an alarm clock. I realized nobody is coming to save us. Like this is a dying, weeks-old child, and they're pumping poison into its stomach.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello everyone, today we're meeting Justin Nault. He is a certified nutritional therapist, a specialist in sports and fitness nutrition, and the founder of Clovis. Hello, Justin. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So let's start our conversation by diving into your journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I mean, I knew when I was very young that I wanted to be an entertainer. I started playing piano when I was 8 and doing recitals, and that got me a lot of attention as a little kid, and that became my entire life. I went on to kind of become a small town celebrity doing these talent shows when I was younger, and I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, got a degree in songwriting, moved down to Nashville, Tennessee from Rhode Island. And I was doing 300 shows a year in Nashville. I got a reality TV show on ABC when I was 25, and I had a YouTube channel I was doing and all sorts of stuff. I just loved entertaining people. I loved being in front of people and sharing this with the world. But the way that I got to where I am today as an online influencer is about 10 years ago. While I was still in the music industry, my niece was born terminally disabled. So she was having over 300 seizures a day. And these are considered burst suppression or grand mal seizures. They're severely life-threatening. So within the first 7 days of life, she was in the pediatric ICU, and my family and I basically lived at the hospital for a few months. And in the early few weeks, they gave her a life expectancy of less than 3 years. They ran over $1 million in testing on her. And then eventually they had to install what's called G-tube. And G-tube is basically a hole in the stomach where they feed the baby because the baby can't eat or drink. So I learned about the ketogenic diet from actual neurologists who taught me that the ketogenic diet was basically a medical diet to get epilepsy under control, especially in children, infants, toddlers. There's an organization called the Charlie Foundation that specializes in this. So at the time leading up to this, I'd been obsessed with, I've really had body dysmorphia and was obsessed with fitness from the time I was 15. I started lifting weights when I was 15. I was a boxer in college. I was training CrossFit twice per day in my 20s. I had done everything under the sun, bodybuilding, kettlebells, the whole thing. So I was obsessed with fitness, but I had just recently started learning about nutrition and diving into it. I actually became a nutritional therapist as a hobby. I just wanted to learn about nutrition. And then this thing happened with my niece. So I was like, I knew enough to be dangerous for the doctors,
Yeah.
And what happens when these babies have a seizure disorder, they thought it was epilepsy and they treated it as such. So they put Savannah on a ketogenic diet. And the only way to do that with a G-tube is a baby formula. So there's a ketogenic baby formula in hospitals called KetoCal by Gerber. And the problem with mainstream medicine is they don't really pay attention to food quality. So I looked at the ingredients on this baby formula, and in my personal opinion, it was nothing but metabolic toxins. It was seed oils, like hydrogenated vegetable oils, artificial flavorings and sweeteners. The vitamins in it were non-usable forms of synthetic vitamins. So I brought this to the attention of the neurologist, and word for word, the neurologist looks at it and he says, I never thought to check that. And that was really when my entire world changed. There's a cliche term of I took the red pill in the Matrix, but that was my red pill moment. And I realized nobody is coming to save us. This is a dying, weeks-old child, and they're pumping poison into its stomach at one of the most renowned neurology departments in the world. Nashville hospitals are very well known for being the best. And I don't think this guy was a bad guy. I don't think he was evil. I think he just was trained in a certain way. And it really hit me nobody's coming to save us. And I took matters into my own hands. And I contacted some paleo influencers I knew, like Rob Wolf, and I started compiling just paleo superfoods, nutrient dense whole foods. I bought food dehydrators and food processors, and I used my oven in my kitchen, and I made a nutrient dense
Mhm.
homemade baby formula. And I cleared it with the Vanderbilt neurologist to start feeding it to Savannah in her G tube. And from there, I launched a company. I released this protein powder into the world. I added a bunch of collagen protein to it and started selling it to CrossFitters on Amazon. And then
Mhm.
I started a podcast. I was like, people need to know about the medical industry. They need to know nobody's coming to save them. I started studying biology and biochemistry textbooks, going deep into human metabolism. I got a few more certifications and specialist in sports nutrition, specialist in fitness nutrition. And I just started sharing on Facebook Live videos, which became my podcast. And
Mhm.
here we are many years later with the following, and I own multiple supplement companies now, and I do coaching and the whole thing. But it really came from that. So I think of myself as
Wow.
someone who tries to coach people into taking back their own authority
Right.
and to stop pretending that they are victims and some medical doctor in the sky is going to come save them and fix all of their problems. It's like you need to educate yourself and understand when you're being taken advantage of.
Wow. Yeah. So all that journey that you've been on, it's kind of like showed you the truth of life. Sometimes it's hard for us to like accept it, that this is the truth that we live in. And like you said, we have to take that responsibility about our own physical, mental health, emotional health in our own hands. Because if not us, nobody will come and save us, right? So it has to start within, first with our responsibility and understanding that we are important. We have to make it a priority first to really dedicate time and effort towards building that foundation for our own holistic wellness, for our own health. And it comes from a different aspect. And I know your company, the Clovis culture, touch upon not just physical aspect of it, but more of a holistic approach to wellness. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. The way that I describe it is mainstream medicine and diet culture teach you to get healthy through the lens of restriction, suffering, sacrifice, and self-loathing. It's basically, I don't like the way I look. I don't like myself. I need to do a starvation diet, eat fewer calories, go to the gym, feel sore all the time, right? And just like suffer
Mm,
through this thing. It's the same reason why people give up New Year's resolutions, because most people believe that the act of getting healthy sucks.
yeah.
I flip the script. I help people get healthy through the lens of nourishment, abundance,
Mhm.
and self-love. When I give people caloric intake to hit, it's a target. I want them to hit that target and go over. I don't want them to restrict. I feed them plenty of nutrient dense whole foods. Most people come to me and they end up eating more food than they've ever eaten in their life, and
Mm,
their health gets better and they lose weight because they don't realize that all of mainstream is preaching metabolic stress. Just stress yourself more, get in the cold plunge, do fasting, restrict carbohydrates, go to the gym. It's just this like
mm,
endless cycle of suffering and sacrifice. And it's through the lens of hating your own body.
right.
So it seems a little odd to people when they first come into the program to lose weight. One of the first things I have them do is stand in a mirror, look themselves in the eye and say, I love you 10 times.
Mm, yeah.
And we're going to
So
approach this through
powerful.
self-love. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the self-love component, it's like the core of it all because a lot of times we just ignore ourselves or don't give ourselves enough attention and self-care. And like you mentioned, looking yourself in the eye when you stand in the mirror and just see what is it that's been created. You are here for a reason. You are powerful. You have everything you need. And that body is like a vessel that you have to take care of. This is where you live. And that's for the lifetime that you've got here, right? So you have to take care of it. And with loving yourself, this is where it starts because when you do love yourself, you would do anything that it takes to nourish, to give yourself those type of nutrients that your body needs to really understand, to listen what is your body telling you, to establish that relationship with your body. And that is important.
100%. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I use the example of If someone comes to me and they want to lose weight, and let's say they have a habit and they're drinking 10 Coca-Colas a day, and I say, hey, listen, let's reconsider this Coca-Cola habit. Let's pull back on this. There's two ways that the person can look at that. The sacrifice, suffering, restriction way is to say, oh, here's another guy taking away my favorite drink. I'm not allowed to drink Coca-Cola. This sucks. I hate this diet. The other lens is to look at it and say, that's toxic to my metabolism. And I love myself so much that I would never put a toxin in my mouth. Why would I do that? Right. And then I direct them over here and I say, here's this foods list that I have. It has over 110 food items to choose from, and you can eat as much of them as you want. It's endless abundance, right? But we're going to focus on the foods that are not going to harm you. So if I can make that switch flip in their mind, then the act of getting healthy is literally, like you said, an act of self-love. And I help people see, if anyone's listening to this right now and they're in poor health, it's because there is an ideal version of self that lives in your mind, and you are currently out of alignment with that version of yourself. All we have to do is think to ourselves, that ideal version of me, what do my daily habits look like? And if I can adopt the daily habits of that healthy person, I'm going to become them. And it really is that simple. You don't get healthy after you lose 30 pounds. You get healthy first and you lose 30 pounds as a result.
Yeah, I think it's very important to know the starting point, the foundation, because a lot of times we think only when I achieve that goal, then I will be happy, fulfilled, joyful, and all of that. But like you said, it all comes first with the mindset, the daily habits that we put into place. It should become our lifestyle, our second nature. It has to be like incorporated in our daily life pretty much, and for us to become that person, right? So what are the practices that you found beneficial in the clients that you worked with and maybe in your own life?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few daily habits that I love to see people do, and I try to make them non-negotiable. The more you can dial in non-negotiables, you just do this every day, proper metabolic health will come as a result of it. And it may take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's dependent on the individual and their current state of metabolic distress or dysfunction, but they're very, very simple. So number one, we have to remove toxins from the diet. The most prominent ones in our Western society are things like vegetable oils, seed oils, like canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, these kinds of things. They're hidden in everything. The average American is having between 5 to 10 tablespoons a day, and they don't even know that they're having them. And this is because all restaurants cook with them. They're hidden in baked goods. If people go around their homes right now and check ingredients lists, they're going to find seed oils in everything. So, and that's just one of many, right? We also remove refined carbohydrates, ultra processed foods, artificial colorings and dyes and flavorings and all these different things that are just metabolic toxins. And the easiest way to think about this is you're only going to eat food that exists in nature, basically. Yeah. So if you go hiking through the forest for the next 100 years, you'll never find a bagel tree and you'll never find a bag of Doritos. It's not going to happen, right? So we're going with foods that exist in nature, what I call species appropriate foods. So that's step one, is removing the toxins that are damaging your metabolism. Step two is increasing the amount of vitamins and minerals that are coming into the diet through focusing on nutrient density. And the best way to do that is the most nutrient dense foods gram for gram on earth are animal proteins. So I have people aim to get 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight every day. And you can just use a BMI calculator or something to find a healthy body weight and just eat. Let's say your healthy body weight is 150 pounds. You're going to eat 150 grams of protein per day. And very, very simple lifestyle tweaks. If you're trying to lose weight or not, either way, it's going to be healthy for you. After every full meal, let's say you're eating 3 meals a day, just step outside, set a 5-minute timer on your phone and walk. When the 5-minute timer goes off, turn around and come back home. It's a 10-minute walk after every meal. That's it. I'm not programming you some big, crazy bodybuilding fitness routine that you're going to spend 6 days a week in the gym. You're just going to go for walks. And the reason why I like to have people go outside is because sunshine is a key to metabolic health. All of our cells actually work a bit like a clock, and circadian rhythm is based on sunshine. So like for me, I watch the sunrise every morning. I see the sunset every evening. I try to spend at least 30 to 90 minutes midday out in the sun, and I'm here in Texas. So I don't recommend starting with that because you may burn if you've not done that before, but you can work up a solar callus. So basically very simple things, hydrating,
Yeah.
getting enough water, it's literally just eat foods that exist in nature, get enough vitamins and minerals, go for walks after your meals, get some sunshine on your skin. That's basically it. If you do those things for even 90 days, you will notice a significant change in your health and wellness. The struggle is, and where most of my coaching happens, is I will paint people this picture and give them this blueprint. And then I talk to them 3 days later, and they're like, yeah, day 1, I did it. Day 2 and 3, I didn't do it. I just didn't get outside. I didn't have time. I didn't this, I didn't that. And there's a million reasons why they can't dedicate, 45 minutes of their life or whatever to make their lives better. And that's where most of my coaching comes in. It's behavioral coaching. It's like, let's analyze your self-limiting beliefs, your self-sabotage behavioral patterns. Why can't you stick with very simple things each and every day? And we untangle why that is.
Yes, I mean, it sounds so simple, but I feel like for a lot of people, when it's too simple, they kind of avoid doing it that at all, right? So they need it to be complicated in their mind for some reason. They looking for that magic pill or the answer, like some kind of trick, hack, I would say, right? But when you hear something that you already know pretty much, like everybody knows that, maybe something you hear for the first time, but in general, we all know that, but the problem is we don't do. It's not enough to know. We have to act upon it. We have to start making that change, starting doing that, really. And again, it comes back to how important this health for you. Do you prioritize it? Do you make time for yourself on a daily basis consistently to continue doing that? Because if it's not important for you, you're not going to find this time, right? And it comes back to, why is it not important for you? Like when you start digging into those self-limiting beliefs. But when you come back to that alignment and you see that your health is important, everything kind of like fall in naturally in the right direction, right? So, and it's just going to be the way of life.
100%. Everything gets better. Everything is based on metabolic health. So for you to have energy to do the things you love, whether it's cognitive function for your job or libido for your romantic partner or looking the way you want to look without your clothes on, like whatever, it all comes from metabolism. Metabolism is how food is converted into energy in the body, and you need enough energy. So if you don't get the metabolic health right, everything else is going to struggle. And this is where we talk about, like, for instance, in clinical studies, depressed and anxious subjects generate 20% less energy than non-depressed subjects. More energy is better. And to have more energy, you need a healthy metabolism. But then there's the alignment piece that we talked about. If you're living out of alignment, so for example, the fastest way to decrease stress hormones in the body is actually to eat sugar. It's part of why so many people are hooked on sugar and reaching for snacks and stuff, because they're living a stressed out lifestyle. So I always say, if someone is living a life where they're working a 40-hour week job that they hate, and their boss treats them poorly, and they're stuck in rush hour in the morning and stuck in rush hour in the afternoon, and then they're coming home to a relationship where the communication's not great and there's a lot of conflict, then on their drive home, they might stop at Wendy's and get a Wendy's Frosty. And that first bite of Frosty, that might be the best part of their day. If the Wendy's Frosty is the best part of their day, I'm going to have a really hard case on my hands. It's going to be really hard for me to convince that person to give that up, because it's the one moment of bliss that they have in their life. So then we're forced to move into life coaching, which is, let's examine why you have created a life for yourself that you hate. And we need to re-examine everything. And we need to be willing to clean slate this thing, because people have a story of, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do that. And their whole life is one endless stream of all the things that they think that they have to do. Right. But what ends up happening in my work a lot is people get the metabolic health right. They lose 30 pounds, 60 pounds. I have a zillion clients who've lost over 100 pounds. Then what? They quit that job that they hate. They move out of the freezing cold city where it snows 6 months a year and they're miserable and they never see the sun, and they move to a city they actually want to live in. They start communicating with their partner. I coach them on some masculine feminine polarities, and their communication gets better and their sex life gets better. I have countless clients. I teach entrepreneurship as well. So I have countless clients who have started their own online business because that's what I did. I left a music career that was toxic for me. I was performing 300 nights a year. I was going to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was drinking alcohol every night. It wasn't fulfilling me anymore. And I walked away from 95% of my income to do something different, to choose my own health and wellness. That's a scary leap to take.
Right.
But if you really want true health, you have to examine it. Like you said at the beginning of this podcast, we take a holistic approach. If you're giving away 40 hours of your week to a job that is soul crushing and you hate, it's going to be very difficult for you to get healthy. So we have to examine everything.
Yes, definitely. And with us really being willing to take that step forward to make a change, that's where it starts. It's always come back to your desire for change, because if you feel comfortable being where you are, it's not enough motivation that is coming externally. It has to come internally from yourself. You have to really see the pain, some kind of pain that you're in. What is it that you are, over? You're not going to continue doing that anymore. It's not something that brings you that joy and fulfillment. Something that has to really move you forward in your decision, some kind of pain in your life, and also the vision for yourself, where you see yourself, where you want to be. Can you really make those adjustments in your life for the future self, for the vision that you have? So those are two forces that we have that we can use towards making a change in our life and seeing for ourselves. Because also I feel like it's important to celebrate small wins along the way, to really reinforce that, to show ourselves that we can, that there is a result of our own choice, right? So if I just continue moving forward, I can achieve something that I want.
Yeah. This is so huge because a couple of things you touched on. I actually have an exercise in my coaching called Stories from Your Future Self, and you named Future Self, right? And
yeah.
I try to help people see that if you've ended up in a situation where you really don't like your life, you're not happy with it, then all along the way, there were choices that were self-betrayal. You did a lot of things you didn't actually want to do, and you broke a lot of commitments to yourself. So you hear the term self-love is thrown around all the time online, and no one knows how to get it. It's like, okay, great. Love myself more. How do I do that? What I teach is practical steps for doing that, which is celebrating the small wins, exactly as you said. So what I try to teach people is every time you keep a commitment to self, you increase self-love.
Yeah.
Every time you break a commitment to self, you significantly decrease self-love. You start to resent yourself. The same way that if you had a romantic partner and you never kept a commitment to them, they're probably not going to stay with you for very long. They're probably going to break up with you because it doesn't feel good, right? So when we do the mirror work, the daily mirror love, where they say, I love you, there's a portion of that exercise that is, I commit to you that. And I have you say to yourself 5 different things that you're going to commit to. But here's where people go wrong is if they're living in poor health and they don't like their life as it is right now, they tend to say I commit to you that I'm going to get healthy. And you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? Because now if you walk away from that mirror and you go to work and there's donuts on the table and you eat a bunch of donuts, you've immediately broken a commitment. You feel bad about yourself and you've decreased self-love because within an hour you broke a commitment to yourself. So I start people I have a glass of filtered water here, right? Why don't you say, I commit to you that every day for the next 7 days, I'm going to start my morning with a glass of filtered water. And then you put it in your phone. For the next 7 days, I'm just going to drink a glass of water each morning. That's super easy. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do it. And at the end of 7 days, you put your hands up and you go, I did it. I kept a commitment to myself. Wow. What else can I do? Okay. For the next 3 days, I'm going to do what that Justin guy said on the podcast. I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk after each meal, but I'm only going to do it for 3 days. 7 days feels like too much. Let me try 3 days. And then you do it after each meal for 3 days and you're like, I can actually do this. This is crazy. And your self-love just goes up and up and up and up. And over time, it may be something like me and my businesses. I set big, giant, lofty financial goals in my businesses, but I can only do that because 20 years ago, when my health and wellness journey started, I committed, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy, right? You have to baby step your way into this. And again, we use the example of New Year's resolutions where everybody says, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm only going to eat 1,200 calories per day. I'm going to get sleep. I'm going to give up alcohol. They try to go from 0 to 100. And 3 weeks in, they've quit. And now their self-love is diminished.
Right. So we're talking about sustainability here. So it has to be sustainable, not just for you trying and, giving up, failing, but really having a plan in place, trying with the small steps, having that big goal breaking down in small baby steps, and then seeing for yourself what you can accomplish and reinforcing, encouraging yourself with the small wins and keep moving forward. It's like a staircase, like you take one step after the next one until you reach that goal of yours. But again, it could take time, and you're here for a long run. You're not waiting for a quick fix, overnight success, because it's not possible, right? So we all know that, but really like being real with yourself and giving yourself that encouragement is important, because like you said, it fuels that self-love, and it's just helps you, it supports you to move forward, really. And I just want to ask you some question for those people, like you mentioned, the protein has to be animal derived. For those people who are vegetarian or vegan, how can they get that nutrient dense food that they need in their diet?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bit more challenging, right? It's easier when you're using animal proteins because of the quantities, right? So if we were to eat, 6 ounces of boneless, skinless chicken breast, you're going to get like 70 grams of protein. If you're trying to get 70 grams of protein from broccoli, you're going to have to eat a cement truck full of broccoli. It's like the caloric thing is a little more challenging, but we live in modern society, and this is where we can pick and choose what quote unquote processed foods we're using. So if you can get, for instance, like a really high quality organic hemp protein, hemp is a complete protein. It's a really good vegan source of protein. Vegan is a little trickier because you're not eating anything from animals. Yes. If you're a vegetarian, generally speaking, when people come into Clovis, I have them cut dairy for the first 60 to 90 days. And that's because the quality of dairy in the US is very poor. Most of the things available in stores are not good. But if you can get really high quality dairy, it's very bioavailable. It's very nutrient dense. So if I have a vegetarian come to me, I try to get them to include at least eggs and some fermented dairy products. Maybe we'll add in like some raw kefir or some whole milk or something like that, or some grass-fed cheeses. We can use these animal products that don't involve animal death to get that protein number up. We want to be careful for things like pea protein. Like pea protein is very popular among plant-based eaters, but I want them to be aware that peas are one of the most heavily sprayed crops in the world with pesticides. They're bathed in pesticides, even organic. There's some loopholes around that. So you want to be careful because you don't want to be drinking a concentrated protein shake that is full of pesticides, right? So we need to be careful with stuff. But there are ways around it. I've worked with a lot of vegetarians. Vegan, for me personally, I can't recommend a vegan diet for optimal health and wellness. So if you want to be full vegan, you probably want to find a different program than mine. I can try to help you if you're willing to move in the vegetarian, plant-based direction, but vegan would be challenging. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just interesting because we hear people follow different diets nowadays, and we just want to be informed and educated of what is optimal for our own health and wellness. And thank you for sharing that. And also another question that comes to mind is sleep, right? How is it important for us to get enough sleep, and what is this enough sleep in your opinion, or maybe like research that you've been looking into? How many hours per day we have to sleep to really to get enough energy for the next day to come?
Yeah, this is a little challenging because it's individual. There's a great book. It's a very long, large book, but if you're willing to put the time in, there's a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, I believe is his name. And absolutely worth reading. I mean, one night of less than 5 hours of sleep basically makes you diabetic on a biochemical level. Like your glucose is dysregulated, your insulin is dysregulated. It's very problematic. Sleep is critical for health and wellness. In terms of the length, this is very challenging in modern society, but the amount of sleep you need is waking up without an alarm clock, letting your body wake up when it wants to naturally. Now, I understand a lot of people don't have the freedom to do that because of their obligations, or they need to try to get to bed much earlier, which is challenging. So the biggest things I try to have people watch out for is blue light devices. This is your phone, your computer, your iPad, your television. It's all mimicking wavelengths of the sun that trick your brain and prevent your brain from producing melatonin. It's blocking melatonin production. So the simplest thing you can do is just get a pair of red lens blue blockers. There's a company I really like called Raw Optics. It's RAOPTICS. And it's just these blue blockers. I wear them at night. On my computer right now, there's a software on my computer called Iris, IRIS software, that is basically changing the lights coming from my screen as the day goes on. It's tracking the daytime. So if I'm on this computer at 8 p.m., the color of my computer will be completely different than it is right now, midday. And by nighttime, it's a red screen. I also do this on my phone, which is pretty interesting. This little 1, 2, 3, click, and I turn my screen completely red. Nice. So I just protect myself from blue light is the best thing you can do. And then trying to make sure that you're getting in bed at a reasonable hour. Try to aim for at least 7 hours. If you're someone that's not getting a lot of sleep, try to aim for at least 7 hours, which may mean getting yourself to bed earlier. If you're going to watch screens at night, wear those blue blockers. It is critically important. People have heard of things like lymphatic flow or lymphatic drainage that's removing toxins from the system. There's also something called glymphatic drainage, which is your brain cleaning itself, which happens while you sleep. So all of your repair mechanisms happen while you sleep. There was a famous study where they took 2 groups of subjects on a caloric restriction diet. They ran basal metabolic rate testing on all of them. They knew exactly what their caloric intake should be. So everyone's respective calorie deficit was exactly the same. One group was allowed to sleep 8 hours or more. The other group was only allowed to sleep 5 to 6 hours per night. And the group that was allowed to sleep longer lost 55% more body fat than the people who slept less. It's extremely important.
Yeah, I think we don't give ourselves enough time to recalibrate and give ourselves this energy that's required to function next day. And a lot of times, like you mentioned, it's the type of job that we are working at, or perhaps some obligations, and we don't have that luxury. Don't put in the alarm and just waking up at our own time, unfortunately. But with us really being mindful, and even though you have to wake up at certain time, just at least giving like 7 hours a day to recharge and get that energy and our own, like you said, the metabolism that is still working during those sleeping hours, and also the way of removing the toxins along the way while we sleep. It's very crucial for our own well-being, and this is something we have to always really think about and make certain adjustments to give ourselves that time for the optimal health. And perhaps there are other maybe some kind of like practices that would help people to become more aware or like mindful in their own life that helped you. Let's say meditation just comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Is there something that really like you've seen the beneficial results into how people became like present in their lives with certain practices that you can share with us?
Yeah, for sure. Sleep is tremendously powerful for a number of different reasons. And some of them are quite esoteric and would be considered spiritual, right? It's like, I believe that you can solve problems while you sleep, and I do this myself, right? So there is like a pre-bed routine that I give a lot of my clients, which is called attracting results. So let's say you're on a new weight loss program or something. Then when you sit down, you're in bed, you're about to go to sleep, just have a little notebook next to your bed and just take a pen and just write down 3 wins from that day. Here are 3 things I did that are moving me towards my goal of weight loss. And you're going to feel amazing doing that. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, I drank that glass of water. I went for some walks. Okay, I'm moving in the right direction. You're changing into a positive frame of mind before bed, because a lot of people worry. They get in bed and they worry, and their brain spins, and it's, well, what if this, what if that, tomorrow's going to be a hard day. What if I only get 6 hours of sleep? Oh my goodness. So I try to shift them to a positive frame of mind. And then I just say, write out a to-do list. Like, your brain is going to be spinning. Oh, I got to get groceries tomorrow. I got to go to the bank. Just write it all down, write it all down, write it all down. And then once you're done this journal practice, it takes 5 to 10 minutes every night. Lay down, and there's a sympathetic breath work that I give people, getting them out of fight or flight into rest and digest, which is activating the parasympathetic nervous system. And it's a 4-second inhale through the nose, hold at the top for 7 seconds, and then an audible exhale through the mouth for 8 seconds. And all you need to do is 6 rounds of that. That's it. 4 seconds through the nose, hold at the top for 7 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds. That's 1 round. Do 6 rounds, and you will be astonished by how much more relaxed your body is. And if you want to do 12 rounds of it, do 12 rounds of it. If you want to do 30 rounds, do 30 rounds. If you try to do 30 rounds, you're going to be asleep. You won't make it to 30. It will put you to sleep, I promise you. So people are just living in such a high degree of stress all the time that in the evening, we want to slow down. We want to, hey, brain, you're allowed to be busy right now. I'll write out all the to-do list. Go ahead. Tell me everything. Tell me everything. Get it all out. And the 3 gratitudes for the day, things that went well, right? We just need to shift that mindset. So you're not sitting in bed. A lot of people joke about this. I'm exhausted all day, and then I lay down to sleep, and my brain is running a mile a minute, and it's telling me all the things I forgot to do, right? Just allow that to happen. Work with your brain instead of against it.
Yeah, definitely. And we need to find a way to really like help our nervous system to relax and go into that mode of relaxation. It will also help with the sleep, right? So we will go right into sleep and sustain that sleep for the longer time, as well as it helps us to really like quiet our mind and become more of like mindful. And also like, I think it helps with creativity as well. Like you go into that state where some ideas come to you just because you helped your body to relax and not to be worrying about anything and not to be in fear, but really like in that relaxation state. So perhaps maybe some kind of like music, some kind of wavelength, some kind of frequency that people can listen to that will supplement to the way of relaxing their body. If anything that you can share with us.
Sure. Yeah, a ton. There's brain.fm is great for this. A service called Brain FM. I actually know the founder. He's a good guy. And Brain FM has some binaural beats that can help with sleep. The one thing I recommend is if you're going to do this on your phone, make sure you download the tracks so that you can listen to them when you're offline and you don't need an internet connection. Put your phone in airplane mode and then listen to something like binaural beats to help you sleep, because you don't want to have a cell phone doing Wi-Fi and data cell service right next to your brain while you're trying to fall asleep. That's not going to be beneficial. So yeah, if you want to listen to some kind of audio, binaural beats, it's BINAURAL, if you just want to search binaural beats. But brain.fm is a great service for this, and they have specific sleep tracks that work pretty well. Just make sure your phone's in airplane mode and give it a shot.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. And I'm so glad we had this conversation today. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and wisdom. And for those who would like to connect with you online, how can they find you?
Yeah, so just look at my name and the title of this podcast. It's Justin Nault, Nault. And all of my social media handles are Justin Nault Official. So you can go to Instagram, search Justin Nault, and I'll pop up right there. And my handle is Justin Nault Official. You can go to TikTok, whatever, wherever you want to go, YouTube, Justin Nault Official. And then all of my programs, I have a free training video. It's 20-minute metabolic training video that's free. You can just find that in the link in my bio on any of those profiles.
All right, thank you. I'm going to also share in the show notes as well. And as we close today, what would be the final thoughts for our listeners?
I would say ditch victimhood as much as you can. There's actually a psychological sort of phenomenon called learned helplessness, which is the best example of this is a little baby elephant. You can tie it to a post and it can't get away. And then it grows up to be a full-size elephant that could easily rip that stake out of the ground, and it doesn't because it's trained that pulling on that stake doesn't do anything. Humans are the same way. We have been told if you're overweight, it's your genetics. There's nothing you can do about it. If you're depressed, it's a disease. There's nothing you can do about it. If you have problems with alcohol, it's a disease. There's nothing you can do about it. We're taught to be helpless. And then they say, here's your pill, here's your injection, here's the thing, here's your surgery, right? And you just accept this and say, yeah, you know what? This is my lot in life. I have poor genetics. I'm just going to be overweight and I'm going to be diabetic and there's nothing I can do. And I just take this pill. Please take back your own authority. That's what I'm working to help people do.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.